I am showing and I am here. This is my second live video, so I'm still learning. Please forgive me. And this one is meant to be 3 minutes, so I'm going to get on with it. I'll never make it, I don't think. Anyway, today I just wanted to give you a few tips for those of you who eat meat out there. So if you're plant-based, you might want to skip this one. But for those of you who eat meat, I wanted to talk to you about how to eke out your meat, because it's really important that those of us who have some food supplies and have lucky enough to have food in the fridge don't join in with the panic buying that's going on, at least here in the UK, that's depriving other people and vulnerable people of food. So I'm going to give you some quick tips today on how to be frugal with your meat and hope that that is helpful for you. So let's do it. I'm going to make myself small and go down and show you what my 3 tips are. And there we go. So the most important kind of overall thing about this is, I think, is for us to think scarcity, even if we're not in that position yet. This is not a normal time. We know from other countries that this is going to be a long haul for all of us. And so I think even though I'm lucky enough to have got a meat order delivered this morning, I'm doing whatever I can to make sure that I make that food last and not treat it as if it's just a normal time. It's not a normal time. We're in this together and we need to help each other. So here's 3 ways that I'm going to do that. Oh, hello Teresa, nice to see you. Really lovely to see you. Thanks for dropping in. And here's my tips then. So firstly, have a think about using your meat in small portions. So if you make things like stews and soups, you'll find that even a really small bit of meat will give a lot of flavour, a lot of texture, and you don't need to make it the kind of completely a meat-based meal. You can bulk it out with extra veggies, which is really healthy, and use some of those old-fashioned grains too. Things like pearl barley can really bulk out a stew and help it last. And I would always, if you can, just make a big batch when you're doing this and then put some of that food into your freezer if you have one, so that if it does get difficult for you and a rainy day comes, you've actually got some really healthy food already, your very own ready meals in the freezer. So that is tip 1. Let's do tip 2. My second tip is to use dried or canned lentils and beans as a way of reducing meat in your dishes and upping the vegetable protein. So you're still getting a lot of really good veg protein. Lentils and beans are not the things that are flying off the shelf at the moment, so it's good to get some in. They last forever, and they're a brilliant cheap food and a great source of protein. And one of my favourite ways of doing this is if you're making something like a bolognese or you're making some chili, you can use some green lentils. I don't know if you can see this, these French lentils, puy lentils, are all the same thing. You can add it in place of some of the meat, use some lentils. But just a word of warning, if you're not used to eating beans and peas and lentils, the digestion can find it a bit difficult. So what you do is just start very small. Start with a tablespoon into your meals and then work up, and most people's digestion will adjust to these foods. But if you're not used to using them, start small, and every little helps. And then my third tip is more of a kind of mindset, if you like. We know from the psychology that if I open the fridge and I see stacks of meat or stacks of cheese or any food really, it's telling my brain that we've got loads of food and I can just gorge myself if I'm greedy, which I am. So if it's possible for you, don't leave out all of these kind of really tempting foods so that they're in your eye line every time you open the fridge. So use a salad drawer or use the back of the fridge to put away some of those foods that are actually things that you want to ration a little bit, so that your eye doesn't see them the minute you open up your fridge. And it really does help, and a lot of this psychology is very well tried and tested. So give that a go and help your brain, which is no doubt in a bit of a panic at the moment, mine is, help your brain as much as it can to adjust to this time and to know that we're not in a time of plenty and that we all need to be a little careful, be a little frugal, think small when it comes to foods like meat, and be kind and think of the people who haven't managed to get any meat when they've been out shopping. And so what we if those of us who have some food already, I think it's a really good thing for us to think about eking it out. So I hope that's helpful for you. Lovely to see you, Teresa. I hope that was useful in some way. I'm going to carry on doing these kind of quick tips. I'm sure I've gone over 3 minutes, but nonetheless, I'll be back tomorrow with whatever's in my mind tomorrow that might be helpful to some of you out there. So thank you for coming. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time.